everyone, I'm Natalia.
And I'm Mia.
Welcome to episode 2 of Tree Talk by Namu. Today, we will discuss a current crisis that we have been wishing to talk about for weeks. Before we begin, we wish to disclaim that all information shared in this episode is as of September 8th, and all statistics and statements are subject to change. Let's begin discussing today's topic.
The Maui wildfires have been burning for over a month and have been one of the deadliest disasters in the U.S. in recent years and the deadliest U.S. wildfire in over 100 years. Wow, that's crazy.
100 years.
100 years.
Wow. So, the fire started on the night of Tuesday, August 8th, and on August 9th, the state government of Hawaii issued a state of emergency for the whole state. And on August 10th, President Biden issued a federal major disaster declaration.
Yeah.
That escalated really quickly.
Yeah, honestly, in my opinion, I wish it would have gone faster. It took them 3 whole days for them to really take action.
Yeah.
And maybe they could have done it in 2 or something, because all this was it was escalating throughout.
Yeah, and it took them 3 days to issue a federal major disaster declaration, but it took literally a couple of hours for the fire to escalate into being something so big that people were in serious danger.
Horrible.
And my friend was actually there in Maui during the fires when it started.
Same.
And she was in Lahaina and she saw everything go down and she had trouble getting out, and so people were struggling from it.
Yeah, I my cousin's friend, he was in Maui, I'm not sure where, but he couldn't. The airports closed down, the hotels were full, all the flights were canceled, no one could get out of the island, and at that point you're trapped, you can't just drive away because you're on ocean. So it's a very scary thing that who knows what would have happened if they had taken longer time to actually issue stuff to get them out of there.
3 days is a long time for how fast it escalated.
Yeah, because of the short time, the fire burned over 2,000 acres of land in Lahaina, as well as hundreds of acres in Kula and Olinda on the island of Maui. But luckily, because most of the fires have been contained, they haven't spread to other islands, although this can still happen. The fire caused many horrible things, but how did it really start?
It's not likely that it's going to spread to other. Now that they're contained, it's very unlikely.
Yeah.
So there's multiple things that cause the fire. There's so many factors. It's just crazy. All the factors just happened at the same time, and that's what kind of is everything connected, and then it went down. But I'll explain that. So basically, first of all, there was Hurricane Dora. So I'm quoting this from The Guardian. So the islands are sandwiched between high pressure to the north and low pressure system associated with Hurricane Dora. The differences in air pressure drove unusually strong trade winds that fanned the destructive flames. So a factor of the fire was the electrical power lines that caused a spark. That's what people believe started it. And it began in vegetation, but because of the 60 miles per hour wind from the northeast, Hurricane Dora, heat and sensible bushes, that was guinea grass, and we'll get into that later. The fire spread quickly to populated areas. And another thing, I'm quoting from theguardian.com, they really helped us out with the research. A majority of our research came from them, so we'll be quoting them a bit. The fires broke out as the island faced strong winds and low humidity that the National Weather Service had warned would bring high fire danger with the risk of rapid spread. They were also facing D1 to D2 drought conditions, which put it at higher risk for wildfires than California.
Wow, higher than California. That's crazy to think about, the fact that we live here in California.
Yeah, me and I live in California. Yeah. So Southern California.
And there's so many fires daily, it's very, very common because we're in such a horrible drought. And who knew that Hawaii was higher than California?
Yeah, it wasn't such a big deal for them until...
Exactly.
And it's such a big factor, too, to the fire that I don't think enough people are recognizing. And I'm just still so shocked that it's, higher than California, because California is known for being in drought conditions and having wildfires, and then Maui is just, completely, in the shadows about drought conditions and wildfires, and all of a sudden this happened, and it's just such a wake-up call.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely.
So the fire-prone grasses, the guinea grass, they covered 26% of the island, over 1 million acres. And it was mainly in the mountains, and so it was reached by the fire. So the fire started in the mountains, and then due to strong winds, it caused a faster spreading of the fire. And when it went downhill on the mountains, it sped up the winds, and not just sped the fire up. And it's crazy because I'm watching all these videos of the fires, and then people talking about it, and they're all saying how fast it went from building to building because of the wind. Like usually it takes a while from one building to the next, but it was just all the way through. Oh yeah, obviously climate change. Not only did it increase fire risk by causing higher temperatures, but it increases the possibility of stronger hurricanes. So Hurricane Dora was definitely affected, and impact made so much like larger and stronger.
I think it's crazy that there were like so many factors that just came into one to like create like the buildup of everything, but like a lot of people just didn't know about it, and mainly because there are like sirens stationed around the island whose purpose is to warn people of emergencies, but they never sounded. And it was due to the widespread power and cellular outages. There were no quick forms of alerting people in the area. So many people just jumped into the ocean to escape the fire because it was so sudden and they had nowhere to go.
Yeah, and like people are always so confused, like why weren't the residents alerted about the fire, the danger? First of all, it was late at night. I'm trying to remember what time it started, but I know that it was really large and a big deal, like around like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
So people at like the middle of the night at midnight were jumping into the water when like a lot of them were like asleep.
Yeah, exactly.
So like they'd imagine just waking up and realizing, oh my God, my entire neighborhood's on fire. I need to run for my life.
Exactly.
So you grab your kids, you grab your dog, and you run to the ocean.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a big part of the reason why people believe that like the tower started, because like the tower broke down and fell and caused a spark, and because the towers were down, the phones and nothing's like surrounded. So like there's like so many reasons why there's so many, like this became such a big thing so quickly.
Yeah, just like imagine like, you know how like iPhones, they have like the emergency alert and like, oh, there's a flash flood happening in your area. Imagine there's a fire in your area and it's 1 a.m. and you're asleep and your phone isn't going off. You're like you don't know because you're asleep. Your windows are closed and like your phone isn't going off. So you're just sleeping and then you smell this you wake up and your like house is on fire. You're like, oh my God, why didn't I get an alert about this? Yeah. And that's why. So it's so scary how there was no form of alerting. So are the fires still burning? So the fires in Kula have been 95% contained, and they have affected an estimated 202 acres.
The fires in Olinda are 90% contained and have been affected an estimated of 1,081 acres. The Lahaina fire is 100% contained and has affected an estimated of 2,170 acres. This is really great considering the fact that it can continue to spread to other islands, but the fires do not pose a threat according to the Maui Fire Department because they're so contained now. If there's a possibility that they have spread to other islands if they were still big, but because it has really slowed down. And I got the question from Natalia yesterday, like how would it spread to other islands? Because of the wind. Like the wind can really push the fire to another island. Like, yeah, there's water, but the wind can really take it and it'll destroy everything.
Oh wow. It's scary how the wind is such a big role in this. Yeah. The fact that there was a hurricane and the cell power's down and that super like flammable, what's the word?
Grasses.
Yeah, grasses, the guinea grasses. I'm still shocked on how there were so many factors that just happened.
So many effects too because of it.
Yeah. So there's so many effects, but we have a couple listed down that are really standing out to us. So obviously the fires have displaced tens of thousands and have killed 115 people, and the numbers are bound to rise as they go through the remains. And the Maui Police Department has 66 missing person reports relating to the Lahaina wildfire at this moment. It has gone down. It was higher before, but they are finding people. The economy in Maui will be affected greatly since 40% of their income is by tourism. And it destroyed over 2,200 buildings, and 86% of them are residential. So a lot of people's houses are just gone, burned to the ground. It obviously will contribute to global warming. Such a large fire will definitely... Yeah. And although countless businesses are suffering, raised a new opportunity. So people are buying burnt down houses, the land, and they're flipping it for money.
That's really good that they're finding something like good out of all of this. I heard you say that 66 people were reported missing, and I can't even believe that. Like, there are certain people out there looking for their families. Who knows if they're alive or dead? Like, it's just horrible not having a home, trying to find your family. Like, I can't even imagine being in that. So many horrible things. But FEMA, also known as the Federal Emergency Management Agency, estimates that it will cost $5.5 billion to rebuild Lahaina.
And rebuilding money is just, it's been getting so much more expensive. I've seen so many graphs on it, and it's just so expensive. And their economy is destroyed, and so it's going to be very lengthy to rebuild it.
Yeah, according to Reuters.com, FEMA has approved over $7 million in assistance to over 2,200 households.
Yeah, and it's $5.5 billion to rebuild Lahaina, but $7 million to in assistance to like over 2,200 households. Like, that is nothing in comparison. Sure, it'll help, but it's nothing. It's tragic because there's not that much they can do at this point since a lot of their economy is gone.
Yeah.
And if conditions permit, schools are expected to start back up after fall break between October 9th to October 13th. But obviously, if the air is still like smoky, and if they don't have
conditions,
they can't go back to school.
It really reminds me of COVID time. Of course, it does not
compare.
But
I remember going home like a spring break for COVID and how we thought, after fall break we'd go back, but we couldn't. I'm hoping that it's not the same for them, and once fall break ends, they can be back October 9th to continue their education.
It's definitely worse for them because at least we had a home to go home to, just to be with our families. But these people have nothing.
They don't have their homes burnt. They have their homes burnt down. They can't do online learning because the cell towers are still burnt. Like, they're very stuck in where they are right now. There's nothing they can do. They're staying at hotels. They're just. It's such a tragic condition because for COVID we can go home and we have somewhere to go. But they are literally left with nothing.
Our hearts are with the families and citizens of Maui, hoping and praying they can soon have their homes restored.
We send our condolences to those who lost family, friends, houses, etc. in this horrible event.
There are ways to donate to help those in need. If you want to help, please donate to www.hawaiicommunityfoundation.org/Maui-strong. You can also find different donation link in our Instagram bio. There are many ways to donate and help Maui, so make sure to check those out.
And if you want to find other links, there are so many other ways to help. So if those aren't for you, please do your research because really anything can help Maui at this point. If you have any questions about anything relating to this episode, Maui, our organization, the environment, or just really anything, you can DM us on Instagram, Facebook, or you can email us at namu.organization@gmail.com. We will respond as soon as we can. Thank you for listening to this episode of Tree Talk by Namu. Join us for our next one on September 24th at 12 p.m. PST. Bye!